Hi guys, I'm back again. It's Ace Face from Twisted Dice, and I'm back with some more Tyranid content for you guys because we've got some exciting stuff to talk about today. I can't wait to kind of delve in and talk a little bit about Forge World units, all the cool new details, what's good, what's bad. It's all coming up right away now. Before we get started, if you could do me a huge favour, just stop for 1 second. That's good. And hit that subscribe button. We have just hitting 9,000 subscribers. We're now pushing, steamrolling, high rolling straight to 10,000. We're missing out this bit, and we're going to go straight to 10,000 subscribers. So we need you guys to stop what you're doing and press that subscribe button. While you're at it, if you give us a big thumbs up, it helps us out tons, and let us know in the comments what you think. That'd be really cool. So today we're going to talk about Forge World units for the Tyranids. So we can talk about other units as well in other factions as well in other videos if that's something you're interested in. But today, I know you guys want to know all about the Tyranid goodness. So I have it all ready and waiting for you. First of all, what I want to say is fantastic job, Games Workshop. Beautiful writing of these very simplistic rules to make them fun and usable in the game, where actually, even if you don't want to play your units super hardcore competitive, these will now play nicely in your Tyranid armies, which means you can bring them out, which means they no longer need to be gathering dust on your shelves. We can get them out on the battlefield and have a lot of fun with them. So congratulations, Games Workshop, you've done a fantastic job, and really pleased with that. So I'm going to break down, there's not that many units, so we're going to whiz through them, and I'm going to skim over some of them that don't really interest me particularly, but let me know what I'm missing out on, because I bet I'm missing stuff, and you guys will tell me, I'm sure. So we're going to start off with the Malanthrope. Now, the Malanthrope didn't change dramatically, but there were some subtle changes. So his now ability went to a 6-inch aura rather than 3 inches. Now that's huge because it just means that you haven't got to have things right next to him to be able to benefit from that -1 to hit. That's really cool, and big benefit. 150 points, actually really not bad for what this guy can do for you. Also, what was nice is his attacks are now damage 2, which is really cool. That's better. Nice little -1. They can do. He can do a little bit of work, which is super cool, right? Which is what we needed. It means that you've got a unit that absolutely is really valuable. I don't find he gets in every single list anymore because at 150 points, he's still not super cheap. But if you're playing a very kind of cheap and cheerful horde style army with no big guys, this is a great one for while we stand, we fight, because he is an absolute nightmare to kill. There is absolutely no two ways about it. This guy, you are not killing quickly. So he is a really good unit, and well done to Games Workshop. That is a good starting point. He's had some changes to the ruling for his prey adaptation as well, which is quite cool, which is going to help with some kind of combat and stuff like that. It's probably toned that down, but it didn't come up that often, but pretty cool. So all in all, at 9 wounds, 150 points, the Malanthrope is still a really good unit, and one I definitely think is worth looking at in your lists. Now we'll go on next to the Meiotic Spores. This is the unit that probably took the biggest hit of any unit in the Tyranid section of this, because it lost its ability to be able to do its cool little deployment shenanigans, which I was really disappointed about because they were almost an auto-include in my lists. Now they're just not worth taking, in my opinion, because the whole reason for them was just to zone out space. Now it means pretty much the only way we can do that is from a little bit with Spore Field and through the stratagem, and also obviously through Spore Assist. So the Spore Assist is going to be the way to go, 100%. But you know, other than that, no real big shakes, but I just don't think you'll see that unit. And then we've got Sky Slasher Swarms. No particular change there. Some slight tweaks, but they're pretty much the same. Not really anything to write home about. Still not a bad, useful little unit. One I'd definitely consider using if I had them. So now we go on to the first one that we really want to talk about in a little bit more detail, and that is Dave the Dimachaeron. And what a cool unit this guy has always been, but how terrible has he been on the board ever since he was released? Pretty much totally. I think he had a little bit where he was fairly playable when he very first came out, but even then he wasn't great. And you know, so yeah, he's always been pretty trash. But now the guy got some serious boosts, and he is probably, you know, maybe one of the stars of this update. So the Dimachaeron, he comes in now at 130 points, which is not too shabby, but he has had pretty much a overhaul of his rules, which is amazing. So for a start, he moves 12, so he is quick, he is not messing around. Weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, no real change there. Strength 7, toughness 7, decent. He has gone up to 18 wounds, which is kind of a nerf because it means he can be targeted, even behind like terrain and stuff like that. But 18 wounds is 18 wounds, is cool. He has his leadership 8. He has 6 attacks, which is very good. And he has a 3+ save. But there's some really cool stuff. So his sickle talons, they are now D3 plus 3 damage, which is very cool. And you can reroll 1s to hit, which is great, which makes them pretty effective. They're also +1 strength, so they're strength 8, -3. So they're good. They're good, and he has an additional attack with his tail, which does 2 damage, -3 as well. So his weapons are pretty hard hitting as they are. But what he can do is, what he has got, is he has a 5+ invulnerable save, which is amazing. That is incredible. And he also has, if he kills a unit, he has the ability to have a 5+ feel no pain as well, which is like super strong. He's going to ignore terrain, so he's going to be able to jump straight over, and because he's quite quick anyway, that means, and on the smaller tables, this guy's going to get into combat really quick. And obviously there's ways to make him even quicker. You know, potentially you take them, you know, you use the Swarm Lord to double move him. There's some cool shenanigans you can do with this guy. You can get him straight in the thick of things, and he's not the most unresilient, so he will you know, take a punch, which is really cool. He can also kind of do additional, he can sort of swallow people, and I'm not going to go into all his details in depth, but this is a unit now that is super strong. Unfortunately, he doesn't have access to toxin sacs or adrenal glands, which I would wish he would do. They don't give you that option, which is a bit of a shame, because I think he would be great with both of those options, just to make him even more reliable. But he is really good. At the points he costs, he's worth taking, absolutely worth taking. I think he's got, you know, I know monsters still, you know, maybe in a bad place, but I think of the monsters we've got, this is a guy that can go in with quite a lot of attacks, do quite a lot of work, and actually be fairly resilient. You know, you can stack him with some of the cool abilities from the Blood of Baal book to make him even better. But basically, this guy is just a beast. He is an absolute beast, and really solid unit. I love him. I can't wait to take him. I think there's, you know, the good opportunity to maybe take multiples of this guy, and just run him at your opponent and kind of just see how you get on. But I think he'll do well. I'm really impressed. So well done again, Forge World and Games Workshop. Great addition. Now the Stone Crusher Carnifex, I never thought was very good before. And didn't really get any better. If not, he kind of got worse. You can't take them in broods anymore, and yeah, he's just not great. So I would definitely, my Stone Crushers, I converted them both into standard Carnifexes. I don't really see the point in having these guys, but yeah, shame. So no real kind of, nothing to write home about the Stone Crushers, but now we can get on to the really exciting stuff in my mind, which is the Hierophants. So we've got the Barbed and we've got the Scythed. So casting our mind back, these guys were super heavy units, and they weren't great. A lot of points. They were kind of both the sort of points of knights, quite expensive knights, if anything. Didn't hit as hard, weren't as resilient, didn't really do a very good job on the table. Particularly the Barbed Hierophant. The Barbed Hierophant was absolutely useless. It was worse from a damage output, a lot worse than a unit of Hive Guard at kind of twice the price. Well, not quite twice the price, but a lot of points, and pretty unreliable because they had a ballistic skill of 4+, which means they very rarely hit. So you used to have 12 shots, you'd hit with half of them, and even then they're only doing D3 damage at best. So really, he was pretty poor, and he was rubbish in combat. Well, he wasn't rubbish in combat, but he didn't have very many attacks. He didn't hit, he wasn't going to hit that hard. So the only benefits of him was that he was relatively fast with quite good range on his guns, and at toughness 8, he was quite hard to kill, I suppose, in that point of view. And then in the flip, the Scythed Hierophant used to be really quite good, fringe of takeable, still not super competitive, but actually pretty good. Had a lot of attacks. We're talking about 8 attacks he used to have because of his scything talons. And yeah, he used to be really quite nasty. His flamer was decent. He could go in and cause a lot of a mess, and particularly if you gave him the 5+ Inron from the Blood Bowl book, he was actually pretty good. So Scythed Tyranid used to be quite good, but he was still way too expensive. Now these guys got a hell of a lot cheaper, almost halved in points. Not quite, but they almost halved in points. The winner here was the Barbed Hierophant by far, because the Barbed Hierophant, he got a buff to his ballistic skill, going to hitting on 3s. He got buff to his weapon skill, hitting on 3s. I think he might have already hit on 3 on weapon skill. Anyway, yes, I think he did. Strength and toughness stay the same at 8, which is cool. He's got a drop in wounds, so he lost a few wounds, going to 18 wounds. 4 attacks, so the same kind of attacks for him. His bio cannon now does a flat 2 damage, which is -2, and his strength 8 and heavy 6. So the bio cannon got better because of the reliability of it being damage 2, which I quite like. You can buff that as well to make that even better with the Tyranid stratagem to make them 3 damage. So it's pretty strong, and that strength 8 is amazing because it means that it's kind of, it doesn't have the -3 that the Exocrine does, but having the strength 8 probably makes the 12 shots, the fact that you're always going to be shooting 12 shots rather than having to use a stratagem or not moving with the Exocrine. So the 12 shots at the strength 8 means that his gun is probably output wise is better than the Exocrine's, which is cool because it means there's a bit of competition there, and it definitely, the Barbed Hierophant was a good option to take. He's near as damn to 100 points more than the Exocrine, but he's got a lot more wounds. He's a bit more resilient. I mean, they're both toughness 8, but the Barbed Hierophant does have a 2+ save, where he used to only have a 3+ save. So yeah. So he's good. He also has longer range on his bio cannon, so you're always going to be able to hit anything because it's a 48-inch range with an 8-inch move. So he's basically got the bald now, so he's got no issues reaching out and hitting what he wants to. So I think it's really good, and he's not that tall, so he's still he's actually fairly hideable. So potentially you're still going to be able to hide him, even though he doesn't have the rules to be able to. So yeah, all in all, I think he's great. I think he's really great. Now the Scythed Hierophant, he also got the same treatment as far as his points going significantly down, which is great. But he got a little bit of a nerf to both his attacks. He lost attacks. His flamer also got a little bit worse. So his flamer is better against little stuff because it's now 3d6, whereas it was 2d6. Strength 6, -2, but it's only 1 damage. So that's a bit of a shame, because it means that its flamer is now nowhere near as good as the Tyranifex's flamer, which doesn't, in my mind, still make that much sense. But there you go. I suppose, you know, there is what it is. Because I would have thought the acid spray from that would be the same, but it's not. So but it has gained range. It's 18 inches, which is good. So look, the flamer is not bad. It just has a very different use from what it used to have. I just preferred it being a bit more dangerous, and particularly with the volume of stuff that has multiple wounds now, I think you want that damage being a bit bigger, because he's still not cheap. But his talons have the same treatment as the barbs. So D3 plus 3, which is good, and he can reroll ones to hit as well. So that's really cool. I think he's really, really strong. Don't get me wrong, I think he's good. But I think of the two, the barbed Hierophant is the better one, because the barbed Hierophant can still hit relatively hard in combat, but he has that shooting as well. But, you know, that's just my personal opinion. Let me know in the comments below if you think I'm wrong, but I prefer the barb now. Whereas before, the Scythed was definitely king. So, but interesting, but both of them, and what I did miss to say is both these guys now sit in the heavy support section rather than the super heavy, which is huge. So you don't need to spend CPs to take these. You can just stick them into your battalions or whatever you decide to take. So that's amazing as well. So both these units, huge big buffs. But the great thing about them is they kind of reflect the models now. Now, when these came out, they were humongous, great big models. Everyone's like, wow, they're huge. They're still big, but actually in the great scheme of things where we are now, they're not super huge. So it makes sense for them to probably sit in the heavy support. So I think, again, a really good move, a really good change, like it. So now we're going to talk about the last two units, and we're going to talk about the big guys. These are the titans of the Tyranid arsenal, but unfortunately they did get a little bit relegated. I don't think they're really in Titan category anymore. To be fair, the first one that we're going to cover never was, which is such a shame, because he is still probably my favourite, which is the Harridan, Harry the Harridan. Now, he got a buff, but he is still expensive. He's still very, very, very expensive for what he is. So he rocks in at a mighty 700 points. With that 700 points, you do get 34 wounds, which is pretty good. You only get a 3+ save rather than the 2+ than the Hierophants get, which I think is a shame, because I think you deserve the 2+ save for all those points. His profile wise is weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength 8, toughness 8. Now I think before he was actually strength 7, so I can't remember exactly, but I have a feeling it was either strength 7 or toughness 8, toughness 7. He's got a buff for sure, which is really, really cool. He has 5 attacks, which is okay, but his talons got better. So his talons are now a flat 6 damage, so they're proper, you know, knight killing stuff. Strength +2, which is good, so it brings him up to strength 10, -3 AP, and can reroll ones again, which is good. And his bio cannon is a better bio cannon, which is great, because it was before, it was the same bio cannon that you get in on the barbed Hierophant, which is now heavy 8, so he gets 2 lots of those, and it's strength 10, and it is -3 with a flat 3 damage, which is great. So look, that's no joke. That is absolutely no joke of a gun on a big beast that is still a bit of a wrecking ball. He moves seriously quick, so he's going to get anywhere on the ball he wants. His movement is up to 45 inches, his movement, which is insane. So he can fly across the board without any problem whatsoever. He does have the supersonic rule now, so he is going to have the hard to hit -1, which is great when he's flying. He can drop down and hover as well, which is super cool. He has the aircraft rule, so you can fly off the table as well, which is great. So look, he is good. He is good, but at 700 points, he's not competitively good. He's not terrible, but he's not competitively good. But I will take him, guys. I will take him, and I will show him to you in a battle report, which is amazing, because you don't really see this guy in battle reports, and that falls on perfectly to the last one, which is the Hierophant. the Biotitan himself, Tiny, who's sitting down on my shelf down there, who you have never seen in a battle pro, almost certainly, because I've only ever used him once on someone else's channel, which would be Edic Beers. You can look back on his big archive of videos and you'll find it on there somewhere if you want to see him in action, probably about 3 editions ago. But you don't see the guy. He was absolutely useless and pointed ridiculously for what he did. It was laughable. So now he got a huge points decrease. He comes in at 850 points, which is still very expensive, but again, this guy has the same amount of wounds as the Harridan, which is 34 wounds, which is a pretty big amount of wounds. He has a 2-up save, which is nice. He also has a 5-up invulnerable save, which is also nice. His toughness did go down to 8 rather than being toughness 9 that it was before, which is a bit of a shame. But he does get all of his basically upgrades, which is really cool. He lost his ability. No, he didn't. I've just missed that, and now I'm going to read it. Yeah, so he actually can transport people as well. So he can transport up to 20 High Fleet infantry models, each with a wounds characteristics of. There we go. So each model with a wounds characteristic greater than 1 takes up 2 spaces, which is incredible because you can actually take all, like, warriors or whatever you want in there. But you can take loads of guys in it, which is cool. So those used to be upgrades you used to have to pay for. You don't have to pay for them now, which is great because he has the lot. So he has his Bioplasma Torrent, which is 12-inch assault 2d6, strength 7 -3, 1 damage, which is not bad. He also has the big old bio cannons. These guys are the same as the Harridans again. So they're strength 10, -3, 3 damage. He's got 2 sets of 8 of those. His gargantuan talons, again, are the same as the Harridans, which is cool. But he does have 6 attacks. So he has another attack, which is pretty cool. And he has the Lash Whip pods as well. And the Lash Whip pods gives him an additional 10 attacks. Obviously, these are only strength 5 -1 damage, but still, he's got the ability to kind of scythe through some little stuff at the same time as well. And the great thing is it's an additional attacks as well, so he still will always get his 6 attacks from the big boy talons, and then he gets an additional 10 attacks on top, which is really cool. So I like that. He's not good. But he is takeable, and you can definitely have some fun with this guy. And he's not bad. He's just not amazing and not great. So all in all, that is all your Tyranid units. There is, with the exception of the Stone Crushers and the Myotics, which are not really something you ever want to be looking at. Everything else is pretty much usable on the table, which is cool. The Hierophant and the Dimachaeron by far got the biggest boosts. Those guys are actually really quite good. The Dimachaeron you might start seeing in some competitive lists, and you might start seeing the Barbed Hierophant pop up in a few competitive lists as well. They're not still probably top tier, but they're my type of build, so I would probably play them and make them work in competitive lists. Do I think that I'll see them in really competitive lists? Probably not. That's just the way I like to play. I like to play with the big stuff, so I will probably still use them. How would I take them? They're still quite good in Leviathan. Leviathan's always a good way to take these guys. Their Kraken is always good to give them that extra sort of speed ability on the big guys, like, Dimachaeron. But I'm more and more leaning on the Behemoth. I think that reroll charges is huge, and things get into charge range much quicker now in 9th edition. That reroll in charge range I think is huge, so I think they'd be very good in that. And even Jormungandr with the +1 to the save in the open is also very good for these guys, making them even more resilient. So look, these guys are good. These guys are good, and you'll start to see them popping up. So look, thank you very much for watching, guys. I really look forward to seeing your comments and what you think of these units in the comments below. But until the next video, I'm Aceface, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.